All right, y'all. So welcome back for episode 2 of, and my camera just froze because y'all, this is life. All right. Episode 2 of Shift Your Life. So first off, today's Courtney's birthday. Yay! Happy birthday,
Thank
my
you.
dear friend.
Thank you. Started the day with a crazy birthday workout. So I haven't done it in a couple of years because we've been traveling. So it was good. If I cough, it's because I still can't breathe. But thank you.
The cardio cough. Yeah.
The cardio cough.
You're turning 21 for how many times now? You don't really have to tell us, but
Well, let's see. 21 times 2 plus 5. Yeah, 46, you guys. I'm 46. I used to think age was like this thing that I didn't want to have. And now the older I get, I'm like, heck yeah, I'm crushing it at 46. So yeah, age is just a number. I'll get on that high horse later in life, you guys.
Awesome. Well, if you're here for episode, this is your first episode with us. We wanted to just take kind of a little bit of a moment and introduce ourselves. So our podcast is called Shift Your Life because Courtney and I believe that we get to shift our lives when we take meaningful actions and we get unstuck, which is a big word I'm going to talk about today as well. And so I'm Jen. I kind of joined on this crazy adventure about 13 months ago with Courtney. Last podcast, you mentioned 20. 20 what, Courtney, for you? I don't think it's 20 months.
20 years. 20 years. Yeah, I went back and listened, you guys. I was like, oh, it's 20 years. I'll be honest, you guys. I got my start in fitness. That was kind of my first start to coaching when I was 19 at Lady Fitness teaching step aerobics back in like the late 90s. So if you wonder how old I am, that's that's where it all started. So a long time, but officially coaching for about 20 years.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. And I've got my own little personal story regarding how I got here. And what I've realized in life is that sometimes, for me personally, the way I felt in my body really held me back. And while the body did shift eventually, actually right before high school, I got really lucky with that. Unfortunately, a lot of my mental and emotional health did not. So it's kind of weird, right? It's like when you're telling yourself you can't do the thing, even though you're doing the thing, even though you showed up as, you've lost the weight, but you continue to hold on to the stories and beliefs that held you back. And I think ultimately really affecting your confidence. So now we're on a journey really to help women to get unstuck from the defeat of the diet industry and get the results and confidence they want. So it's a little bit about who we are, in case you've been wondering.
Awesome. Yeah. And you guys, I had an eating disorder for a long time. So it started when I was 16, disordered eating for a very long time. And it's the same thing. It was the identity I had and the stories and the beliefs. And once I let that go, I really got to step into the healthiest, happiest version of me. And I really feel like our mission is to pass on those lessons and help you guys feel that way. Because I promise you, the way you feel right now, if you're not happy with how you look and feel, we can shift it and you can do it quickly.
Yeah, we've helped hundreds of clients in just about a year. So you're in the right place if that's what you're looking to do. With that being said, I think one important thing for folks to know about us is the fact that we've been in your shoes. Mm-hmm. We don't speak from a place of being above or any of those things. I'm a big fan of telling people I'm a coach who walks alongside you because I've been in your shoes. I get it, right? So I'm glad that we get to bring that, Courtney, to this, right, to this podcast. So we'll start off here today, but the topic for today, and I actually got a little confused. Okay. When I first heard about this, I'm like, okay, so motion, action, isn't it all the same stuff?
Right.
But it's not.
Right.
Right. And so tell us a little bit about where you learned about this, Courtney. Where did you come across this concept?
Yeah. So I believe in always reading, always expanding. I really believe in going back and reading things you read before, because you're always going to hear things differently. We do this inside of our programs. We have a lot of people that, join us once and then stay for 2 or 3 renditions because you always hear something different. The other thing I heard is that learning or that reading is just remembering, or learning is just remembering, right? You're like, oh, that thing. So this actually comes from James Clear and his Atomic Habits book. So I really highly recommend that book if you're ever trying to shift your habits. For all of us, like, we can always upgrade what we're doing. There's, I believe growth is one of our biggest needs. And so I was rereading that book and it just kind of hit me. I was like, wow, that is so powerful. And the reason I feel like so many people are stuck, right? So when you think about, and Jen said it, like, well, if I'm in motion, I'm in action, right? I'm doing something. But so often, you guys, the difference between motion and motion is not the things you're doing when you're in motion don't actually create change. And the things that you do when you're in action actually create change, right? So, one of his examples, and it's perfect for what we do. He's like, you can go to the gym and talk to the trainer about maybe signing up with them, a million times, but until you actually get under the bar and do the squats, it's not going to make that change. And I'm going to share this because it's funny. So we also own a physical gym here in Colorado. And we don't get a lot of sort of, we'll call them tire kickers, right? People that are like, oh, I'm thinking about joining. Like, we don't get a lot of that. And the last 5 people that have reached out, so they fill out a form on our website and say, call us. So we call them, you think they're probably ready to get into action.
Right.
And the last 5 people have been like, well, I've got this injury, or I'm going out of town for 3 months, or maybe in June. And I'm like, why did you fill out the form but that's motion, right? They filled out the form, so they feel like they did something.
Right. And I think so many of us try to show up with positive intent,
Yes.
right? We got told we have to do the thing, we should do the thing. And so, okay, I got to do the thing, I got to make the call.
Mhm.
Right. But, I think the thing that, a couple of examples in my life that really have stuck with me. I don't know if y'all, I'm assuming somebody on this podcast has done this before. You're about to go on a diet. So you go to the grocery store, right? And all of a sudden, you spend way more time in the produce section than you probably ever have. And shopping the perimeter, which supposedly is the freshest part of the grocery store, right? And we put all these things in our cart. And I don't know if y'all have ever been victim of the salad bag who sits in your fridge for 2 weeks. And then you're like, yeah, I had the best of intentions to eat you. I showed up and I even purchased you, but then the action never happened, right? The nourishment never happened from the thing because we went out and we did the thing, but that is what you're calling, or what we call now motion, right?
Right.
And the action would be what happens next.
Yeah. And motion, I think, it's not that we don't want to plan and we don't want to prepare and we don't want to think about it, but so many of us we stop there. And then when we look back, we're like, man, I've tried everything. I tried that diet. And you're like, well, the food actually sat in your fridge and then you threw it away. So did you? Right? I joined the gym. Well, you got the membership and you paid for it. You got the Vasa membership that's $10 a month, and PS it's $10 a month because you will never cancel because it's more of a hassle. There's a reason they do that, you guys. Legitimately, there's a science behind this. I have a gym membership. I've talked to so many people that join our gym, and they're like, well, I have 4 gym memberships, and I'm like, well, why? Right? Because they feel like it's putting them in action, right? And so it's great intentions, but we don't realize that we're missing that last step. So Jen, where else do you see people sort of what other examples have you seen of in this in your life or people that we've worked with?
Yeah, I think for me, a big one that kind of sticks out is the fact that many times we're the ones in our own way, right? So we create the plan for the thing, right? We buy the thing. Great example. I'm an owner of a bike that goes nowhere. Okay. If y'all haven't heard of that, okay, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's stationary bike. It's got a name. And there's so many of us that I've spoken with, right, who buy the bike, who set up the gym equipment, who do the thing, but at the end of the day, we never write it, right? Or, for ourselves, even Courtney, frankly, being a business owner. One thing is saying, I've got a business and I've got an idea. The other thing is executing it into life. So for me, I think what, breaks my heart, for lack of a better word, and what we help liberate so many clients from is the stuck. And the stuck is usually just kind of stuck in the logic, but we don't take the 1% shift. We don't build the plank. We don't build the bridge, right? And sometimes it's because we're scared, and that's okay. Fear is powerful, right? But I think this is, for me personally, one thing that's really worked in my life is, yeah, it's scary. I'm not going to deny it, but still taking the action because I want the outcome. Does that make sense?
For sure. Yeah. And so when you think about it, you guys, you're like, am I in motion or am I in action? Right. And we can all look at the things where we're like, well, I wanted to be in action and I thought about it, right? Like in business, well, I thought about sending the email, but I didn't actually send it. Right. And a lot of this, so when we get stuck, you guys, it's all, everything we coach about, you guys, it all goes together. There's no this thing happens outside of those other things, right? So it goes back to what do you believe? Who do you believe you are? What habits do you have? What are you recreating? And so one of the biggest things that we coach inside of Shift is that 1% shift, right? It's not sexy. It's not super exciting. It's not all in because then you go all out. It's like, can you be 1% better today? And every single person, it's 11:11, you guys, by the way, set an intage. So, like every
Done.
single person is like, I could do 1%. Like I could do 1% more. Like that's not that
Right,
much.
right.
But what we don't realize, or what a lot of us don't realize, is that when you compound that, right? And James was talking about this in the book. So if you were at, if you did 1% for 365 days, you're going to be 37% better, right? But if you go 1% the other way, you're going to be 37% worse.
Right.
I'm not a mathematician, but that's like 70% difference if you go one way or the other. And so I think it's realizing that these little things that we do every day really can add up to massive change, and they're not that hard to implement into your life, right? Like what's your favorite 1% shift you've done in your life, Jen?
Favorite 1%? Oh, I mean, probably fill out a piece of paper. That's a different story. No, but literally it's, I'm a big fan of seizing the moment. And that means that sometimes you fill out a piece of paper for an opportunity. So I had a crazy summer job, Courtney. I think you've heard about it, selling books door to door, right? And it all started because I filled out a piece of paper and I said I was interested, right? Or like the 1% shift for me, really, I thought about joining this gym community that I'm part of now for about a year, almost a year and a half. And y'all, I filled out the piece of paper and I booked the appointment. And when the appointment came, I canceled 4 times. Now I've been part of this community for 5 years. And so I'm definitely in action and not motion. But, that's probably one of the 1% shifts in my life, just showing up to the thing that just changed my entire trajectory. So I sometimes see it as shorting myself. What action, and I'm shorting myself, am I getting in the way of myself that literally could change my entire life? And so one of the most amazing things about being a coach is the fact that it does get scary and our logic tries to come in and protect us. But, one of the things we do is to ask the question to help our clients get unstuck. And I still get stuck sometimes, but it's interesting when at least you're equipped with these questions to ask, your stuckness doesn't last as long, right?
Yep.
So one of the things that we recently asked is, in our podcast, what is it that you want to hear more about? And I think, a lot of us kind of think about the physical results. I want them too, y'all, right? But the thing is that it's not, one of the things that you get with Courtney and I is the fact that it's a holistic package. It's really connecting the mental to the emotion to really the betterment of ourselves. But with the physical results, just start. Just open your door. Just look outside, put your dog on a leash, and just step outside. I promise you the rest of it will come. So
yeah. And we've told people before that are struggling to shift that habit of moving, and it's like, well, I gotta do the thing and it's no fun. And you hear all this stuff. It's like, okay, start on Monday, put your shoes beside your bed. On Tuesday, put the shoes on your feet. On Wednesday, walk around your block. On Thursday, walk around 2 blocks, right? It's like, again, that's not sexy. Like, oh, I put my shoes out. That's silly, but it works, right? And so I think what's so powerful is that, when you think about physical change, you guys, so 2 things. We all think that when we get a physical result, we're going to feel a different way and it's going to change our life. Okay. I'm here to tell you that if you don't shift, like, the external results will never create the internal change. You can get the external result. I chased that forever. I had it and I was less happy, right? So for us, we want you guys to shift from the inside, right? And I still want you to have the external results. Like, I still want the 6-pack. That's fine, but it doesn't define me and it doesn't ruin me if I don't have it. But so first of all, you guys, I want you to understand the external is never going to create the internal. But the coolest part about that is you can shift your internal state instantly, right? Stand up, jump around, take some deep breaths. Like, you can change your state, smile, right? Like, you can change that stuff. But the other part we don't understand is that, and I believe this 100%, is that physical weight is so often because of emotional weight, right? We carry physical weight because of emotional weight that we've taken on and we don't even know is like weighing us down. We've had trauma, we've had life, we've had all these things that showed up, and we're like, we have to release that before the physical weight can come off. And I promise you guys, if you start and you look at it a different way, it's not about, did you eat the salad or not? I mean, you need to still eat the good food, but like, if you just do that and you don't deal with any of the other stuff, because that's what I did, then it's never going to shift. But when you can release that, all of a sudden your physical body changes and you're like, how is that possible? But I promise you guys, it is. So you have to look at it from a different, like, again, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing a million times and expecting a different result. So for us, we come at it from a different angle, and then you get a result in a different way that you didn't even know was possible. And PS, you probably get there and don't even care anymore because you're no longer looking for that to validate your worth.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, I think this community I'm part of, I'm just going to air it. It's called Orange Theory. Okay. I think everybody knows, anybody who knows me knows part of it. And I gotta say, y'all, like in 2021, I ended up winning the Transformation Challenge. Not because I went out to win the Transformation Challenge. I thought it'd be cool. Sure, if I won it, that'd be amazing. But it was about all the little steps in the way. And so when it happened, I was surprised. Should I have been surprised? No, I had a plan. We stayed consistent, all the things, but I never went out to get the thing, right? So I think one of the things, again, just to keep this, you know, this conversation for a little bit more, I keep saying, don't be a rocking chair. What does that mean? A rocking chair will move as much as you want it to move, right? It will just rock forever, but it will not go anywhere. Okay. So create situations, actions, environments, thoughts, beliefs in your life that help you take that action towards the goal. The goal will happen, but it's the stuff in the middle. I think the other thing, you know, Courtney, that's been big for a lot of our clients is once we start taking the action, our beliefs start to shift about what we are and who we are and our worth.
Yep. Yeah, because you guys, once you start taking actions, so it can go one of two ways. You can start taking action and not shift your beliefs, and then you go right back to where you were, right? It's that pendulum. Or you start taking action and you're like, man, athlete, I've been on a Peloton streak for 2 weeks. I've gone to the gym for 5 years. I've walked my dog for, 4 days, like whatever it is, you start to go, okay, well, I am this thing because I'm being this thing, right? Like I always talk about like not being a human doing, but being a human being, right? Like if you're being the thing, then you start to shift it. But you also need to make sure, and there's so much wrapped around this, we talked about language last week, the words you say bring validity to how you feel. If I say I'm an athlete and I believe it, and I say it with intensity and excitement and belief, I'm an athlete, I'm going to believe I'm an athlete. If every day before I get out of bed, I'm like, I'm not an athlete, I don't work out, I'm going to believe that too, right? So right. Like you get into action, but then you also have to really pay attention to the language. What do you want to be? I'm an athlete. Cool. Say you're an athlete. You are an athlete. You will become an athlete. So it's
or
really
you're the process of becoming. That one for me is huge, right? Because even though, and I've shared this before, I have medals in my office that I, from 5Ks and 10Ks and 8-mile runs that I would go on. And the medals could tell me the story. I think most people would see those medals and say, Jen, you're a runner. I'm like, no, I just do the thing. I just show I'm not a runner. But the reality is started shifting my language and then I show up differently. But one of the key things for me was I'm in the process of becoming. It's not like one day I would just woke up and I'm like, Jen, you've been lying to yourself. No, you're a runner. It's like, no, I'm in the process of becoming a runner, and in the process of becoming a runner or trainer, a studier, somebody who maximizes, their time with their kids, their career, whatever it might be, is that you show up differently, right? It's not like you're just become the thing, but you're in the process of becoming. So you do the thing.
Yep. Yeah. And you guys, language and focus can shift your whole life, right? So if you want to get into action, the biggest thing, and I'll leave you with this, is that you need to, if you're in motion and you're thinking about it, you bought the bike, right? Put it on your calendar. I will ride for X amount of minutes on this day at this time, right? Put it in your calendar, make it non-negotiable, just like anything else. Because if you wait for the perfect storm and I'm going to start doing this thing, it's not going to happen, right? But when we're trying to, create habits, they did a study, and it's like, if you have it written down when, there's a word for it, I can't remember it, but there's an intention. Like if I get up at 6 a.m., I'm going to put on my shoes and go outside, right? I am going to ride my Peloton Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 o'clock, right? If you do those things and you have an intention, then you will actually do it because it's planned. Okay. The motion is, I'm going to go to the gym this week. The action is when you're going to go to the gym, and then actually executing.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of a quote. It says, if you have a goal, write it down. If you don't write it down, you have a wish.
Right.
And we can be wishful thinking, but again, that goes right into the motion. So to kind of summarize today, I just wanted to share kind of the definitions real quick. to make sure, again, we're aligned, and we expect to continue this conversation. We love the thought of language and becoming and creating and all those
Mhm.
things. So motion's the act of doing something that keeps you busy, but that task will never produce an outcome itself. While action, because we're not rocking chairs, y'all. Actions are small repetitive actions that require little effort or motivation to carry out, but with consistency lead to big changes in our everyday lives. So that was pretty significant for me. And again, just 24 hours ago, I was like, what's the big deal, Courtney? And here we are, right? But again, just be learners, continue to lean in, y'all, and create those 1% shifts. And if you like what you're hearing now, just subscribe to this channel on YouTube. We're also on TikTok now, and in our private
We're
Facebook
taking
group.
action, you guys.
Yeah. If you haven't heard, so we air this on our private Facebook group every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And that's called Shift to a Better You Women's Community. So you can find this on there as well. Yeah, Courtney and I are here for any questions, comments, concerns. I also say emotional outbursts that you have, but y'all, it's going to be a good ride. So any parting words, my friend, as you go on and hopefully have an amazing rest of your birthday?
Yeah, just like don't take life so seriously. That's my advice. Go have fun, let it be fun. Like if you do everything in your life with more smiles and shift your state, like smile before you pick up the phone to the phone call you don't want to have. If you just do that, you'll start to see everything start to shift. So I appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week. Jen, I'll talk to you very soon.
All right. We'll talk soon, friends. Have a good rest of the one. And again, shift your life. We will be here every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. See y'all.
Bye for now.